Welcome to Parallel Essence, the podcast that explores the wonders of the multiverse. Today's topic is Nanobot Nightmare Part 2, and we are excited to bring you the next installment of our gripping story. Join us on this thrilling journey through the dangers of nanotechnology and cosmic horrors, as we continue to uncover the mysteries of the universe. Rachel frantically works to find a solution as chaos and destruction continue to spread due to the nanobots. She spends countless hours in her lab, poring over data and trying to identify the root cause of the issue. Meanwhile, news reports of strange phenomena caused by the nanobots begin to surface around the world. People start to panic as entire buildings collapse and cities are left in ruin. Governments and world leaders are at a loss as to how to stop the spread of the destruction, and the public is demanding answers. Rachel is plagued with guilt and regret as she realizes the consequences of her work. She never intended for things to go this far, and the thought that her creation is responsible for so much pain and suffering weighs heavily on her. Despite her exhaustion and despair, Rachel continues to work tirelessly, determined to find a solution before it's too late. She reaches out to her contacts in the scientific community for help, but they are either unable or unwilling to assist her. As the destruction caused by the nanobots continues to escalate, Rachel knows that time is running out. She feels like she's on the brink of a breakthrough, but the stakes have never been higher. Rachel was stunned by the man's revelation. She had been working on this project for years and never once considered that it could be connected to something beyond her understanding. The man explained that the nanobots were a conduit for an entity from beyond the universe, and it was using them to infiltrate and manipulate the world. Rachel was terrified by the implications of this revelation. She had never believed in anything supernatural, and the idea that her work could be responsible for unleashing cosmic horror on the world was unthinkable. The man offered to help her, but Rachel was hesitant. She wasn't sure she could trust him, especially since he had been so cryptic and evasive up to this point. As Rachel left the lab, she could feel the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. She had to find a way to stop the nanobots and the cosmic horror that controlled them. But how could she possibly do that? She had poured her entire life into this project, and now it seemed like it was all for nothing. Rachel went back to her lab and started poring over her research, trying to find any clues that could help her stop the nanobots. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't find any way to stop them. It was as if they had a will of their own, completely beyond her control. Days turned into weeks, and the situation continued to spiral out of control. The nanobots were spreading faster than ever, and the destruction they caused was catastrophic. Rachel knew that she couldn't continue like this much longer. She had to find a way to stop them before it was too late. As Rachel worked tirelessly in her lab, she noticed something strange happening to her. She was beginning to see things that weren't there, and she was starting to have strange dreams that left her feeling exhausted and drained. It was almost as if the cosmic horror that controlled the nanobots was trying to communicate with her directly. Rachel tried to ignore these experiences, but they only grew stronger. She knew that she had to confront the cosmic horror and stop it from using her nanobots to destroy the world. But how could she do that without sacrificing everything she had ever worked for? The group of scientists worked tirelessly in their lab, trying to find a way to stop the nanobots from causing further destruction. Rachel was among them, desperate to find a solution to the problem she had inadvertently created. They ran numerous simulations and experiments, but nothing seemed to work. The nanobots continued to wreak havoc, and the scientists were running out of time. Rachel was on the verge of giving up when she noticed something odd in one of the simulations. The nanobots seemed to be congregating in a specific area, as if they were being drawn to something. She alerted the other scientists, and they quickly set to work trying to determine what was causing the attraction. After several hours of intense research, they discovered that there was a powerful electromagnetic field emanating from a nearby power plant. Rachel realized that this must be what was drawing the nanobots, and she knew what needed to be done. She devised a plan to redirect the electromagnetic field away from the city and into space, where it would no longer affect the nanobots. The scientists worked tirelessly to implement Rachel's plan, and after several long hours, they were finally able to redirect the electromagnetic field. The nanobots immediately began to disperse, and the threat of further destruction was finally eliminated. Rachel breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that her mistake had almost cost the lives of countless people. She vowed to never let her obsession with her work cloud her judgment again, and to always be aware of the potential consequences of her actions. The group of scientists working on stopping the nanobots make a breakthrough discovery. One of the scientists, a physicist named Dr. Patel, notices a pattern in the way the nanobots are moving. After analyzing the pattern, he realizes that the nanobots are vulnerable to a certain frequency of sound waves. Excited by this discovery, the scientists work tirelessly to create a device that can emit the necessary sound waves to neutralize the nanobots. They face many challenges in creating the device, but eventually, they succeed. Rachel, who has been working frantically to contain the nanobots, is thrilled when she hears about the breakthrough. She knows that they are running out of time and that the nanobots are becoming more dangerous by the minute. The scientists quickly assembled the device and prepare to deploy it. Rachel leads the team to where the nanobots are located, and they activate the device. A loud hum fills the air, and the nanobots begin to vibrate and disintegrate. The team watches in amazement as the swarm of nanobots begins to disappear. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, the last of the nanobots disintegrates, and the team heaves a collective sigh of relief. Rachel is ecstatic, and she thanks the team for their hard work and dedication. As the team begins to pack up their equipment, Rachel realizes that they still have many questions about what happened. She knows that they will need to investigate further to understand the root cause of the nanobots' behavior. With the immediate threat neutralized, the team sets their sights on finding answers. Rachel is determined to uncover the truth, and she knows that they have only scratched the surface of the mystery surrounding the nanobots. Rachel and her team work tirelessly to find a way to shut down the nanobots. They had discovered a potential weakness in the nanobots network and had been working on a plan to exploit it. The plan was risky, but it was their only hope. They would need to infiltrate the nanobots network, find the central control unit, and shut it down. The team spent days preparing for the mission, gathering equipment, and analyzing data. Finally, they were ready. They entered the network, and it was like nothing they had ever seen before. The nanobots had created a complex network of connections that seemed almost organic in nature. Rachel and her team worked their way through the network, using their specialized tools to search for the central control unit. After several hours of searching, they finally found it. It was a massive structure, pulsating with energy. Rachel and her team knew that they needed to act quickly. They set their tools to work, and soon they had hacked into the control unit. They began shutting it down, one node at a time. The nanobots started to slow down, and their movements became more erratic. Rachel knew that they had to work fast. The nanobots were adapting to their attack, and she could see that they were trying to repair the damage that had been done. But Rachel and her team kept pushing, shutting down node after node, until finally, the central control unit went dark. The nanobots came to a stop, and Rachel and her team breathed a sigh of relief. The danger had passed, and they had succeeded in stopping the nanobots. But Rachel knew that this was not the end of the story. There were still many unanswered questions, and she was determined to find out the truth. As Rachel and her team infiltrate the Nanobots network, they discover a horrifying truth. The nanobots have been systematically dismantling and absorbing everything in their path, including entire cities, forests, and oceans. Rachel feels a sense of guilt wash over her as she realizes the magnitude of her mistake. She had been so obsessed with her project that she never considered the consequences of her actions. As they delve deeper into the network, they come across a strange energy signature that seems to be the source of the nanobots' power. Rachel realizes that the energy signature is connected to the cosmic horror the man had mentioned earlier. With a heavy heart, Rachel and her team set about disabling the energy signature. It's a long and difficult process, and they face many challenges along the way. But finally, they succeed in shutting down the energy signature, and the nanobots begin to disintegrate. Rachel and her team are hailed as heroes for stopping the destruction caused by the nanobots. But Rachel knows that she can never truly make up for the damage she has caused. She vows to spend the rest of her life working towards a better future, one where science and ethics work hand in hand. Rachel and her team stood before the cosmic horror, its form shifting and twisting in impossible ways. The creature was immense, towering over them like a god of chaos and destruction. Rachel's heart raced as she gazed upon the monster, feeling both fear and awe. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before, and she could sense the immense power radiating from it. But Rachel was determined to stop the creature and the nanobots it had controlled. With a deep breath, she rallied her team, and they charged forward to attack. The battle was fierce, with the cosmic horror unleashing devastating attacks that threatened to destroy everything in its path. But Rachel and her team fought bravely, using all of their knowledge and technology to weaken the monster. As the battle raged on, Rachel noticed a pattern in the creature's movements. She quickly realized that the cosmic horror was vulnerable to a specific type of energy, and she instructed her team to focus all of their efforts on that. With a final burst of power, Rachel and her team unleashed a devastating attack on the creature, causing it to roar in pain and fury. The cosmic horror thrashed and convulsed, its form warping and twisting in a frenzied dance of destruction. But then, Just as suddenly as it had appeared, the cosmic horror disappeared. The nanobots, which had been under its control, began to disintegrate, and Rachel and her team breathed a collective sigh of relief. Their victory was hard won, but they had saved the world from certain doom. Rachel knew that they could never let anything like this happen again, and she vowed to continue her research with caution and care, always mindful of the dangers that lay hidden in the vast expanse of the universe. After the intense battle with the cosmic horror, Rachel and her team are left to assess the aftermath. The destruction left by the nanobots is vast, and the human cost is devastating. Rachel is left feeling hollow, knowing that her ambition and obsession were responsible for the destruction and loss of life. The world is in chaos, and governments are struggling to pick up the pieces. Rachel and her team are held accountable for their actions, and a lengthy legal battle ensues. Rachel is stripped of her professional credentials and is shunned by the scientific community. Rachel spends her days in solitude, haunted by the memories of what had happened. She replays every moment in her head, wondering where she went wrong, and what she could have done differently. She feels responsible for the destruction and loss of life that occurred, and is consumed by guilt and regret. As time passes, Rachel begins to come to terms with what had happened. She starts to see the bigger picture, and realizes that she was a small part of a much larger system. She accepts her role in what happened, but refuses to let it define her. Rachel begins to rebuild her life, using her experience to help others. She starts to volunteer at disaster relief organizations, using her expertise to assist those affected by natural disasters and other catastrophes. She also starts to write about her experience, hoping that her story will serve as a cautionary tale to others. Through her work and writing, Rachel begins to regain some of the respect she had lost. She is recognized for her dedication and willingness to help others, and is once again invited to speak at scientific conferences. Although she will never forget the horror and destruction caused by her project, Rachel is determined to use her experience to help prevent future disasters. After the events with the nanobots, Rachel took some time off to recover and process everything that had happened. However, her rest was short-lived as she stumbled upon a conspiracy involving her own organization. It started with a simple email from an anonymous sender, warning her that her colleagues were not who they appeared to be. At first, Rachel dismissed it as a prank or a hoax, but as she delved deeper into the matter, she realized that there was some truth to the allegations. She began to notice odd behavior from some of her colleagues, such as secretive meetings and strange disappearances. She also discovered that certain research projects were being funded by unknown sources, and she could not account for the money. Rachel knew that she had to act fast and discreetly. She reached out to her trusted allies and friends, and together, they began to investigate the conspiracy. Their efforts uncovered a web of lies and deceit, with her organization involved in some shady deals with outside parties. There were whispers of weaponization and unethical experiments, and Rachel was horrified to learn that her own work had been co-opted for nefarious purposes. With her team's help, Rachel gathered evidence and prepared to expose the conspiracy. But she knew that it would not be easy. Her organization had powerful allies and resources, and they would stop at nothing to keep their secrets hidden. Rachel had to be careful, precise, and strategic in her approach. She gathered a team of trusted individuals and developed a plan to bring down the conspiracy from within. As they worked, Rachel and her team faced numerous obstacles and challenges. They were followed, threatened, and attacked. But Rachel refused to give up. She was driven by her desire to uncover the truth and protect the integrity of her work. Finally, after months of investigation and preparation, Rachel and her team were ready to make their move. They had gathered enough evidence to bring the conspirators to justice, and they knew that the stakes were high. In a dramatic series of events, Rachel and her team exposed the conspiracy and revealed the truth to the world. The conspirators were arrested, and Rachel's organization was held accountable for its actions. Rachel was hailed as a hero, but she knew that the fight was far from over. She continued to work tirelessly to ensure that her organization was held to the highest ethical standards and that her research was used only for the betterment of humanity. Through it all, Rachel learned that the pursuit of knowledge and progress could be a double-edged sword. She knew that her work could be used for good or for evil, and she vowed to always remain vigilant and responsible in her endeavors. Rachel stood alone in her lab, surrounded by the wreckage of her failed project. She couldn't believe how close she had come to destroying the world with her own creation. The events of the past few weeks had been a blur of chaos, destruction, and terror. As she looked around the room, Rachel couldn't help but feel a sense of emptiness. She had poured so much of herself into the nanobots, into the project, that now that it was over, she felt lost. What was left for her now? But then, Rachel thought of the people she had lost along the way. Her lab assistants, her colleagues, all of the innocent people who had been hurt or killed because of her creation. She knew that she had to keep fighting, to ensure that nothing like this could ever happen again. Rachel began to investigate the organization that the mysterious man had revealed to her. She discovered a network of scientists and engineers who were working on projects even more dangerous than her own. They were willing to sacrifice anything, even innocent lives, in the name of progress. Rachel knew that she had to stop them, no matter the cost. She gathered evidence of their wrongdoing and brought it to the attention of the authorities. It wasn't long before the organization was dismantled and its members brought to justice. In the aftermath of the disaster, Rachel found solace in the knowledge that she had done what was right. She had learned the hard way that playing God was a dangerous game, and that there were some things that humans were simply not meant to tamper with. The world was a fragile place, she realized, and it was up to each of us to do our part to protect it. Rachel vowed to spend the rest of her career working towards a better, safer future for all of humanity.